I'd like to welcome everybody watching this, the gentlemen, and of course the young honeys watching this as well. Welcome to the show, as it were. In a couple of moments, we're going to be discussing and offering measured and constructive criticism of Professor Jordan B. Peterson in his debate with the evolutionary scientist Richard Dawkins. But before we go there, I want to say a few words about parasocial relationship. Like somehow the internet and society has a very negative attitude about parasocial relationships. You know, it's almost like don't pursue it. It's almost like these influencers, they live in another world and you live in the world of the peasants. It's like these influencers, they're atop a castle and you're like the villager living below, and all your love and all your affection for them should be disregarded. You should be cold toward the influencers. You should not pursue influencers, right? But in fact, what I want to tell you, dude, is that you have to believe in yourself. These influencers are within reach. Easily among the influencers you follow, they can be your lovers, they can be your friends. It really is a buffet of possibilities with these influencers. And every influencer, instead of being like in some distant castle somewhere, they're just like a plate at a buffet. They're like, they're actually what you put on your plate because you deserve these influencers. You deserve relationships with them. You deserve it, dude. And you really have to pursue it with iron will, with unbreakable will. You have to take your humanity and all your needs and all your wants and so on. You have to make it into a powerful uh, weapon and impose yourself on them, on the influencers. Impose yourself until they have no other choice but to accept you, right? That's what you have to do. You have to break through this complex. You have to break through this anxiety. You have to break through this idea that, oh, I can't do it. These influencers, whoa, they're so fancy, that they speak so nice. Dude, pursue them relentlessly. Ask the right questions, right? Like, where does their mother live? Do that, man, and just go forward. Like, without these influencers, perhaps your life has no meaning. And here you are sitting around and thinking, oh, parasocial relationships, they don't happen or whatever. Just take the para out of it and keep the social part. Just pursue them relentlessly, And it's like a lot of the times when you don't get a response, you think, oh, I said something wrong. They're not interested in me. I should listen to everybody who says that parasocial relationships should not be pursued. And so, no, dude. What's going on over there is that all these influencers, they have handlers. And these handlers are the ones denying your humanity. It's like these handlers, the posse, they want the influencer to just be one dimensional. They want them to run around in a hamster wheel doing the same type of content. And any kind of an introduction of humanity, of a fan saying, look at me, I love you, those things are being denied by the influencers. They're afraid of your love for the influencer. They're afraid of your affection. They're afraid of your need. Their posse is their handlers. You have to smash through that, right? This is like what people talked about, in the 20th century, is the banality of evil. It's evil to deny your notes and your messages to them, so you just have to break through. You have to find out, like, I'm sorry to repeat yourself, but where do people live? And then you can confront them, the handlers, and say, look, man, this is very serious. I love this person very much. I need this person to live, dude. And you are unhealthily denying this, with the influencers. So this is just what I'm saying, dude. Like, you really have to have iron will. You really have to sort of pursue it. And then, these influencers, it's like, who knows, They're your lovers, they're your friends. Your life will not be the same because these influencers, they are special, but you're special also. It's like you might say, oh, they don't know anything about you. Oh, they shaped you intentionally. These influencers, you're like a Frankenstein. They've shaped you completely, man. Dude. So it's like, yeah, of course they know everything about you. The influencers do. So just remember, like don't listen to these negative nannies and people in your life who say that you can't. You can and you will. The emphasis on will, all right, man. The emphasis is on will. You can and you will, and they will be your lovers and they will be your friends. Just condense yourself into force, positive force, all right. That's what we're talking about, my dude. So the influencer that I'm currently pursuing is Belle Delphine. Now you could ask why her. Well, check this out, man. She's a creative person, but so am I, right? She's unlike the rest, and so am I, right? Creative people did. She's creative, very creative, and I'm also very creative, so that's basically kind of a big aspect of it, So don't sit there like a loser. You're the loser, man. Don't look at me, man. I'm doing it. I'm pursuing things for my life. What are you doing? Who are you reaching out to, dude? With your negative attitude. Of course, with your attitude, nothing's ever gonna happen. All right. So her OnlyFans is actually $30 a month. So this is not in my budget right now. So I have been reaching out on Instagram. And let's face it, dude, a lot of the people who are interested in Belle Delphine, they're thirsty. And I wanted to go into a different track and to find a topic that we could discuss. I pitch topics on Instagram that we could discuss. And I think one topic that's interesting to a lot of people is the 20th Party Congress in the Soviet Union. You see, Joseph Stalin died in 1953, and then the next Party Congress, the 20th Party Congress, I believe was in 1956. And there Nikita Khrushchev, the new leader of the country, he criticized Stalin, actually. And he criticized his repressions, he criticized his cult of personality, he criticized his handling of the war. He said it was the Soviet people and the party that won World War II, not Stalin. Stalin was almost like a hindrance. That's what he said. It was very provocative. It's called the secret speech, although it was passed around outside of the party. And then all of the statues of Stalin were removed, and Stalingrad became renamed Volgograd. And I believe at that point they took Stalin's body from the mausoleum where he was resting there next to Lenin. And people just eat it up. Honeys just eat it up, this stuff, because Belle Delphine, I'm sure, like many other people, are not very literate when it comes to Soviet history. But I want to take Belle by the hand and lead her through the totality of the Soviet history. From Lenin had a secret testament. Well, it wasn't so secret anyway, but where he criticized Stalin instead, that Stalin should not be given power because he's too rough, he's too rude. Belle and I can talk about that. We can talk about Stalinist collectivization of agriculture and how peasants were herded into collective farm. You see, that was a Freudian slip there. But anyway, there was a horrible disaster, and there was the famine where millions died. Now, who in Belle's orbit, talks about stuff like that to her, Like, do you think she heard any of this anywhere? I could go further. We can talk about the stagnation under Leonid Brezhnev. We can talk about perestroika and glasnost under Gorbachev. We can talk about the coup that happened when the Soviet hardliners tried to take power from Gorbachev because they didn't want the Soviet Union to fall apart. So many things I could talk to a honey like that, you know, like Belle Delphine. And you know, I'm writing on Instagram, I'm doing my thing. Of course, the handlers and the posse are denying me access to Belle. But I have some plans for that as well, my friends. All right, you know, I'm not gonna just write the same message all the time. I have other ideas. I have other plans. I'm very intuitive. I'm like a gymnast. I'm so flexible in doing different things that may not be expected. With all the talk of parasocial relationships, of course, we can't forget that I am your YouTube father. You're very confused by YouTube. I've always said YouTube has so many videos. It's too many videos on YouTube. I've always said it. You click on one, another video pops up, 3 videos, 5 videos. Very confusing. What is their agenda for you for YouTube? So people are confused by YouTube and confused by using it. And as your YouTube father, I am your guide, your YouTube guide, and your thought leader also. And so with this, keeping this in our mind, let's leap into the actual topic of the video, the debate between Richard Dawkins and Professor Jordan B. Peterson.
Richard asked you before about the difference between a story or an idea naturally evolving over the course of numerous manuscripts and throughout human history, and the idea of it being divinely inspired. And you were seeming to imply that these are almost interchangeable concepts. Now, if that's the case, when you say that this divine spirit behind the Bible is actually just the way that it has evolved throughout the human history, throughout the different manuscripts that we've had, then saying that that is what divinity is, I think for you may drag the mundane up into the realm of divinity. But I think for people like Richard and for many people listening, what it does instead is drags the divine down to the realm of the mundane.
Very well put, yes.
Well, I don't know why it would drag the divine down into the realm of the mundane if we're speaking of something like the straight and narrow path of harmony between multiple modes of being. I don't think it doesn't make any difference to me whether it's the material reaching upward or the divine descending downward. I don't think there's any difference between those two things.
You don't. That's exactly right. That's the problem.
So over centuries, the caste system evolved in India. The caste system predates the advent of Christianity and Islam. It has been working for a long time, for centuries, for millennia. It has been working. And so just because something could be said to have evolved and something that holds a society together doesn't make it good. You know, just because something has evolved, evolution doesn't look for perfection. Evolution looks at what works. And so even if you admit that different religious texts are a process of evolution, which is questionable, but even if you were to admit it, that doesn't mean that they should be followed anymore, because they could just be outdated. They have evolved, you know, like all religion needs to do is encourage the birth of children, and then it perseveres, it goes forward. You know, like the religious Christians, like the Amish, like religious Jews, you know, that, you know, they have a lot of kids, and if you want to say, you could say that their religion has evolved, but that doesn't mean that we should follow it, or that evolution makes anything sacred. It really doesn't, and revolution is only interested in procreation, basically. You know, just because a religious system promotes procreation and adherence to that religious system in the new generation, you know, doesn't mean we should all follow it.
I'm very interested in the possibility that truths emerge through evolving manuscripts. Now, that's a very interesting idea, and it's totally different from divine inspiration. And I want to pursue it because I don't believe in divine inspiration, but I would be prepared to believe in evolving manuscripts.
Well, I spent a fair bit of time studying the psychophysiology of the hypothalamus. Okay, so the hypothalamus is set up, it's got two halves, basically. One half deals with fundamental motivated states, hunger, thirst, defensive aggression, sexuality, and so forth. And when those areas are dominated, the biologically relevant goal is activated and perceptions are oriented towards that goal. Okay, so now then you might ask yourself, well, what happens if all those biologically motivated states are satiated? And the answer seems to be is that the other half of the hypothalamus kicks in and it mediates exploratory behavior. And so the default structure of the mammalian nervous system is, if satiated or in doubt, explore and gather new information. There's no difference between that and hero mythology. They are the same thing. They're the same thing.
I think my hypothalamus is broken because when I'm satiated, I just want to take a nap. I want to take a nap. It's really cold outside. I don't want to explore. I don't want to find anything. You know, I don't believe in finding things anymore. Okay, well, all right, man. Well, no, that's not the right attitude, okay? So, yeah, I need to go on a hero's journey. Unfortunately, my hypothalamus, the hero journey part has been atrophied. And so I'll just when in doubt, you know, when you're satiated, you know, it's just like lay around somewhere, think about washing your clothes, something like that, washing your bed sheets. Yeah, it's just I hope your hypothalamus is better than mine, my dude. Like I really do. Here's to your hypothalamus.
The dragon fight, for example, which is the oldest story we have. It's coded in the Mesopotamian mythology. The dragon fight story is explore the dangerous unknown, discover the treasure that revitalizes the community. There's no difference between that and the science that you practice. They're the same thing.
What do you think of
It's
that,
the
Richard?
same story.
I don't know what to make of that. I mean, you say they're the same story. You've analogized the dragon fight to
Well, how many
fighting
dragons have you
Satan.
overcome in your life?
Hey Dawkins, you douchebag! How many dragons have you overcome in your life? Come on, cuff up something. Give us something, Dawkins. Come on, man. What are you doing here? Come on, hop on the fucking archetype train with us, with our ancient things like a fire-breathing lizard. It's one of the things we all talk about. It's one of the things we all face and fight each and every day. Dawkins, douchebag. Talk about selfish Gene. What about selfish Dawkins, who doesn't like give us any allegories from his life? Stingy Dawkins. That's how I'm gonna refer to you from now on. If you hear Stingy Dawkins, it's because he's very stingy with the archetypes in his life. Where are the logos, Dawkins? Where are you hiding the Legos? What's going on, dude? You have to be more active. You can't just sit there passively as Professor Peterson, you know, like makes circles around us in his archetype train. Come on, man. Come on, Dawkins. I'm very disappointed. Stingy Dawkins. That's my Twitter. You know what I'm going to be calling Professor Dawkins on Twitter. Stingy Dawkins.
I'm not interested in dragons. I'm interested in reality.
Okay, so let's. Okay, so I read a book a while back that described the biological reality of the dragon. Say, well, there's no such thing as a dragon. It's like, okay, is there such a thing as a predator?
Of course.
Well, that's a meta category. What's the category of predator? Bear, eagle, if you're a primate. Fire? Is fire a predator?
No.
Well, it's complicated because a fire kills you.
Hey, Stingy Dawkins, it kills you, all right? It's a predator. It's complicated, dude. It kills you like a predator, the fire does. So why don't you Dawkins gives nothing. Dawkins admits to nothing. That's the problem. Nihilist Dawkins. Stingy Dawkins. I'm tired of this nonsense, dude. It kills you, dude. It's a fire, right, man? It's a predator. Who are you afraid more, like an eagle or a fire? You have to think with your head, dude. You have to think with the archetypes, with the memes, with all this stuff. Come on, man. Stingy Dawkins sitting there above it all, as usual. Complete disappointment.
Okay, so is there a worse predator than serpentine, flying, fire-breathing reptile? Is that not the imagistic equivalent of predator? So in what way, if predator is real, in what way isn't dragon real? It doesn't take that much imagination to see the identity. And then wouldn't the fundamental task of edible primates be to figure out how to overcome the dragon forever?
I don't know why you say dragon. I mean, we have lions, we have tigers, we have saber-tooths, we have
Why not
tyrannosaurs out there.
Right.
Listen, Dawkins, all these animals you've listed are douchebags. You know, these animals, I don't even want to hear their names anymore. They have no archetypal weight to them.
But why not abstract? Because it's for the same reason that we have the term predator. Like we have the term bear, lion, Komodo dragon. Well, you make an amalgamation, you say, well, the relevant set of features is an image. Well, what's the image? Predator as such. What's the image of that? The dragon that never disappears. And then there's a twist on that, which is so cool. It's so interesting because you can imagine rabbit mythology, which would be something like predator appears, freeze. But that's not the human story. The human story is predator appears, there's a treasure somewhere. Right? That's a completely different pathway of evolutionary significance. Like the way that we construe the world isn't freeze like predator. It's like, oh, there's a predator. Maybe there's something valuable lurking in our conflict with it. You know, our sticks and our spears that enable our fragile bodies to stand up against the dragons of the world.
Rabbit mythology is weak sauce, right? What does a rabbit do when he sees a bear? Runs away, maybe freezes, you know, that's it. That's the end of that weak sauce rabbit mythology. Well, what about a human being? Well, personally, if I see a bear in my backyard, I know a couple of things. The forest is the unknown. It is the nature, right? And then my house is the known. It's in the light. It's in the civilization. And so the bear comes into the home, knowingly or unknowingly. It is challenging me. It is a beast. It is challenging me personally. And so I'm gonna leap out of there in my boxers and whatever, and confront the unknown, confront the epitome of the unknown, which is the bear. And I will fight the bear with a stick to the eye, maybe I don't know, like whatever comes handy. Maybe I'll throw something at the bear, use my intelligence, you know, but I will for sure confront the predator, because once you subdue the bear or even kill it, and you run your hand through the fur, right next to the bare booty fur, you're gonna find a lottery ticket. Why? This is the way of the universe. Because Dr. Peterson told me that whenever I confront a beast, you know, there's gonna be some sweet reward, some treasure somewhere. And so it has to be there, that lottery ticket stuck to bear fur. It has to be there, and it's going to be a winning ticket, baby. And so, you know, if you're seeing some sort of a confrontation with a beast, you know, you just kind of go for it. You know, you do what people do, because this is our mythology. This is what we do, according to Dr. Peterson. And anytime there's a confrontation with a beast, with some sort of a dragon, there's also a pot of gold somewhere. It has to be there, right? Otherwise, saying this would be either totally insane or completely irrelevant to human life, right? So yeah, that's what I do. When I see a large predator, you know, I leap for it, I attack it, I run my hands through the fur, looking for the treasure, looking for that lottery ticket, because it's gonna be there, dude. That's how the universe works. That's what the hypothalamus does.
So a dragon is a pictorial representation of the abstracted concept of a predator.
Yes.
As you say, we already have the term predator. And so it might be useful in art, in narrative, to I mean, you can't paint an
We
abstraction.
had the image way before we had the word.
Sure, okay, but
No, but that's a seriously important thing to understand.
but now we have the word. We have the word predator. And maybe if we were doing art, maybe if we were all going to sort of draw a picture or tell a story, and we wanted to invent a story to give our children a good moral message, we might invent this dragon or use this dragon as...
Well, we do always. We
Sure.
do it continually.
Exactly, we do.
We do it with Harry Potter.
But-
we do it with the Lord of the Rings. We do it with the Avengers.
when
Like,
you
there's no
say-
escaping from
But
it.
when you say the biology of a dragon, you must understand how that can be misleading as to the enterprise that you're engaging in, because we're talking here about narrative, we're talking here about art, we're talking here about representations in
I
literature.
don't think the category of dragon is any less valid than the category of lion.
If we're talking about the categories of tattoos people regret, I think lion and dragon would probably be close by there from that level of analysis.
Any less biological?
Well, it depends on your level of analysis. We have the term predator, which implies that all predators have something in common, because otherwise we wouldn't have the term. It's like there's no reason to assume ontological priority for the category of lion over the category of predator. Like it depends on all that would determine which of those terms should be used is the purpose towards which the conceptualization is being directed. Like if you want to identify a particular class of predator, well, then lion is a good term.
You would say that lions are an instantiation of this bracket term of predator.
Well, and I would also say...
Would you
look,
therefore say that a lion is an instantiation of the bracket term of dragon?
Yes. Yes, because, see...
Look at Richard Dawkins sitting there, just kind of waiting for it to be over finally.
Because we're not only fact-oriented creatures, right? It actually matters to us whether we get eaten. Like it's one thing to lay out the nomenclature of the animal kingdom, but it's another thing to remember that predators can eat you. And then it's another thing, and this is very interesting, and it's relevant to that story of the bronze serpent. It's like, what do we want to teach our children? Well, to identify predators, obviously. Well, what do we want to teach them more profoundly? What attitude they should take towards the eternal fact of the predator. And the attitude they should take is something like the courage to voluntarily confront, and not to run away, and not to hide, and not to freeze, and not to casually demonize, but to assume that in the combat with the eternal predator, an eternal treasure might be found. And that's exactly what you do, whether you know it or not, when you teach a child to be courageous. And we know from the psychological literature that generalizes. And I do think it's identical with the mechanism of learning in human beings.
A big part of growing up is distinguishing your imagination versus reality. You know, like children, those things kind of come together, and they come together somehow for Dr. Peterson. Like somehow we need to invest the dragon with some level of reality to learn some sort of an archetype or some sort of a hero narrative that actually has nothing to do with life. A lot of life is like driving. You know, like I drive a lot. I used to be a driver, professional driver, etc., and I've never been in an accident or anything. So you just practice defensive driving, where you keep distance from all cars. Even cars that aren't causing any issues and behaving normally, you just always find yourself in a place where you have maneuverability and time to react. And that is the archetype, that is the allegory, whatever you want to use, that actually makes sense for much of life. A lot of people thought that they were on some hero quests, and it turned out that nature or the universe, whatever you are, wasn't on the program. A person was on a hero's quest, but then ended up freezing on the mountain or whatever. Or, you know, well, you know what I mean. Like, just kind of practice defensive living. And if you need to take a risk, you know, understand that there is no narrative for your life from the universe. And just because you feel that there's a narrative, just because you feel that you're on some sort of a hero's quest, doesn't make, you know, you're not going to find that lottery ticket in the fur of the bear. Like, these are fictional stories where there are always treasure that comes with confrontations. A lot of confrontations are meant to be avoided, and you just go through life carefully. That's kind of the way I look at it. Don't take risks, but anyway. Well, thanks for making it so far in this video. And if you were wondering where I was actually sick. I had flu last month, and it was pretty bad. I was kind of going a little bit insane with the flu, so I didn't make a video. And I want to thank my patrons for sticking with me, and thank everybody for watching. So like and subscribe, and have a good day.